first things first, you're going to want to make sure that your offsets are as close to 0 millivolts as possible on your SCR-LGA board on the drive. In the manual, it'll show you on how to do an automated drive calibration and also how to manually do your drive calibration to read at close to 0 millivolts DC as possible from test points TP3 to TP18. Just go through the manual and then stay tuned for the video on how to do an SCR armature current test. In this video, I will be showing you guys how to do an armature current test. If you guys are experiencing an insufficient SCR armature current fault at idle, through the run, intermittently. So you're gonna wanna, I'm gonna show you guys in the next screen a page on what you guys will need to fill out to test your armature current test to 0%, 10%, up to 100% to make sure all the numbers check out, to verify if it's a SCR drive current sensor issue on the DS board behind the LGA board, or it can be the LGA board up to the drive cable, from the drive cable to the right side of the iBox. Ultimately, it could also be an iBox issue. So we're going to take the drive cover off. We're going to look at your drive header chip on your SCR-LGA board. We're going to look at the ratings. This is an HDR 2407, indicating that it's a 240 volts, and the 7 is a 75 amp output ratings for 100%. So we're going to connect iView to the car. You're going to acquire your write privilege. Press 1 on the iBox. Make sure that you have it acquired. You're going to go to View, Configuration, Drive, which I already have a check mark there, which means it's already up here on the tabs. You're going to click on your Control tab. Here you have an Armature Test. So you're going to put a check mark there. So, according to our configuration, the system at 100%, we should be outputting 75 amps. So we should be sending a current command to your SCR drive for 75 amps. And we should be also getting that feedback back to our controller. So we're going to go back to your control tab. You guys will need to be testing 10%, 20%, 30% to make sure all that checks out. I'm going to be doing this one test for Armature Test, current 100%. We're going to click Send. We're going to go to our operational status screen. And we're going to have someone monitor armature current on there to see if that lines up to what you're actually reading out here in the field. So we're going to get our meter, clamp on meter. We are going to put it to amps DC. We are going to put it either on A1M or A2M. So we have it on inspection. We have our meter to amps DC with the clamp. Can enable it. So we see 73.
amps in the up, and we're gonna do it also in the down. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run on inspection here while we also monitor what it's showing in the machine for armature current. That's in the up direction. I'm going to go in the down direction now. So as you can see that are a plus or minus 10 amps, so that checks out there. If you're not reading plus or minus 10 amps of what you're actually reading in the iView software compared to what you're reading out here with your clamp meter on A1M, then you want to verify first if your SCR drive is actually showing from the current sensor that you are getting the amps from the your motor. So that's when we're going to need to get your meter and put it on DC voltage, and we're going to measure the two main points we're going to measure is TP3, which is right here on the left side of your SCR-LGA board, and then the other one is TP18. So a test point is for an armature current command from the iBox, and the other is an armature current feedback from the drive. So here we're going to open up our SCR drive manual for your SCR-LGA board test points. We're going to see TP18, total current command from the iBox, and TP3, which is the armature current scaled measured in volts. 1.8 volts equals 100% of the drive armature current rating. Actual armature current equals drive rating times voltage at TP3, 1.8 volts. For your TP18, 100% would be 3 volts DC. So right here we have our meter set to DC voltage. We have our negative lead tied in to your ground on your SCR-LGA board. We're going to find TP3 on the left side of your SCR-LGA board. So I'm going to put a test point there. And we're going to hit enable and up. We're going to verify it in the same direction. Now we're going to check in the opposite direction, enable and down. So we're measuring max with our amp meter, 75 amps for A1M. We're measuring max for armature current for your feedback. So then we should also be measuring 75 amps on your iView screen. If everything checks out here and you're measuring 75 amps with the clamp-on meter, you're measuring 1.8 volts DC with TP3 to ground while you're doing the test, then the next step to do, but you're not reading the correct voltage on your iView software, is you have this cable down here that goes from your SCR-LGA board to the right side of your iBox to AC/DC drive. What you can do is you can disconnect this cable that goes to the right side of the cabinet, because that cable goes inside of the cabinet through this slot to the right side of your iBox. You can disconnect the internal connection and connect it straight here to see if you can get your voltages and your software, iView software, to be reading the same, plus or minus 10 amps. If not, if everything's still reading good on your SCR drive with the test points, TP18 is getting our armature current command through the drive cable, and it's reading 3.0 volts DC from here to ground. You're getting 1.8 volts DC from TP3 to ground, indicating that the correct armature current feedback is going. You replace the drive cable, you bypass the drive cable even, but your iView software is still showing it different. Then the next step to do is to get one of your this flash module replaced, as that holds your configuration file and could be corrupted as well. If that doesn't check out, then it will most likely be an issue with your iBox. You could also, with power down, is disconnect this drive cable and see if there's any bent pins on the male side of your SAF board. Hopefully this video has helped and got a better understanding on how to troubleshoot your SCR insufficient armature current feedback fault.